All right, so if you missed our lesson on finding area of a circle, here's a quick recap. So area of a circle is going to look a little bit different from circumference. There's a little bit more involved. And in class we talked about where the formula came from and kind of where it came about is all about kind of a rectangle, turning a circle into a rectangle. If you didn't see it, we can watch that video if you'd like. But the long and short of it is to find the area of a circle, we're going to do pi times the radius times the radius. So this time you don't have an option about whether you want to use the radius or the diameter. There's not two versions of it. There's just one formula. Pi times radius, or a lot of times you're going to see it as pi times radius squared. So whatever the radius of the circle is, we're going to square it. So multiply it times itself, and then multiply it times pi. So in our example here, our radius is 4. So radius is 4 inches. That means the diameter would be 8 inches. But I'm forcing you to write that down to make sure you really are using your radius in your calculation. So to find area, I'm going to do pi, 3.14, times the radius squared. Or, if you'd rather, you could do it as 3.14 times 4 times 4, because 4 times 4 is the same thing as 4 squared. So 3.14 times 4 to the second power gives me 50.24. This time it's area, so instead of inches, it's going to be inches squared, because you did inches times inches. So let's see that played out. Reminder, circumference is equal to pi times the diameter. Area is equal to pi times the radius squared, or pi times radius times radius. And I'm using each one to make sure we're using each one of our measurements. So here I have 42 meters. That's my diameter. My radius is going to be half of that, so 21 meters. For circumference, I'm going to do pi times the diameter, 42. So 42 times 3.14 gives me 131.88 meters. For area, I'm going to do pi times the radius squared, 21 squared. So 3.14 times 21 to the second power gives me 1,384.74. We're dealing in meters, so meters squared. So let's try the next one. 4.5 is my radius. It's half the way across the circle. Diameter is radius times 2. So 2 times 4.5 is 9 millimeters. Circumference is pi times the diameter times 9. So 3.14 times 9 is 28.26 millimeters. Area is going to be pi times the radius, 4.5 squared. So 3.14 times 4.5 squared gives me 63.585. We're dealing in millimeters, so millimeters squared. Remember, area is always squared. So next one, you'll notice that part of it shaded in. So what it's really asking is we want to find the area of half of it. We call it a semicircle. So in this case, we're not going to find circumference. We just want to focus on finding area. So first focus on what measurement do we have? Well, I know this measurement here is 3.8. That's my radius. Anytime you know the radius, I also want you to figure out the diameter. Remember, diameter is all the way across, or 7.6 yards. To find area, we're going to do pi times the radius squared, 3.8 squared, but then we're going to do one more thing. Since we only want half of a circle, we only want half of the area, so we're going to divide by 2 at the end. So 3.14 times 3.8 squared divided by 2, because I only want half of the circle, and my area is 22.67 yards squared. So for a semicircle, you calculate it the exact same way. We just only want half the circle, so we divide it by 2. Last couple, making you think a little bit. So find the area of the shaded region. So you'll notice I have 2 circles. I have a big circle, and then I have a smaller circle cut out of it. So focus on the big circle first. So here's my poorly drawn big circle. 12 meters is the distance all the way across. So that's my diameter. So my radius is half of that. My radius is 6 meters. So to find my area, I do pi times the radius squared. And I get 3.14 times 6 squared gives me 113.04 meters squared. Now I look at the piece that's missing. Somebody took a big hole out of the middle of my shape. So that's my little one. It has a diameter of 8 meters and a radius of 4. I force you to write those 2 pieces of information down so you don't accidentally use 8 in your calculation, because 8's not the radius, it's the diameter. So to find the area, I do pi times the radius squared. So 3.14 times 4 squared is 50.24 meters squared. And then I got to finish the problem. I take the big area minus the little one. So 113.04 minus 50.24. And I get an answer of 62.80 meters squared. So find the area of the big shape, then find the area of the little piece, the part that's missing. Since it was taken away from the big shape, I subtract it away. Next one, again, start with the big shape, the whole thing. Pretend there wasn't a hole in it. What's it going to be? Well, it's a square that's 5.25 on each side. So I would do 5.25 times 5.25. Remember, area of a rectangle or square is base times height. 5.25 times 5.25 is 27.565. I'm just going to leave all my decimal places there for me for now. Then, shape 2, our circle, the part that's missing. Well, the diameter of the circle is 5.25 inches. Sorry, my answer up here was in inches squared. My diameter is 5.25, so my radius is half of that, which is 2.625 inches. Remember, I always force you to write those down, so you always make sure you know which measurements you have and which ones you don't. To find the area, we do pi times the radius, 2.625 squared. 3.14 times 2.625 squared is 21.636. I'm going to round it off to 6 here for me. And then when we're done, remember, take the big area minus the little. So 27.565 minus 21.6366. Going to subtract them. And I get an answer of 5.9259. So let's round that off to 5.93 inches squared. Notice there's not a whole lot of area left. We're really just looking at those corners, so we cut out that big portion in the middle. But it's the area of the big shape minus the area of the shape in the middle.